Okay, grand rising. Today is July the 12th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, 2020 on the Gregorian calendar in all lowercase letters. I want to start off with just a reading from the Circle 7, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Judicial. I'm just going to read chapter 1, just a little bit from here to start off. And it's the creation and fall of man. Time never was when man was not. If life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite mind can comprehend things infinite. All finite things are subject unto change. All finite things will cease to be because there was a time when they were not. The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change, yea, from the finite point of view. The time will come when they will be no more. But man himself is not the body, nor the soul. If there is also a lot of noise in your background, please star 6 to mute your phone. Thank you. Okay. It says, but man himself is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. That is one of my most favorite
Amari Bay, DC territory.
Grand Rising. That's one of my most favorite readings in the Circle 7 because it says that we live forever. It says that right there, and we do. Before we get started, I wanted to hear if there are any updates in the territories. I believe one of the nobles had something that he wanted to tell us about something going on in his territory or with him. The noble who was going to tell the story.
Yes, Islam. Again, this is the Dula Bay. Again, let's go from the beginning. When we started all of this, they used to say, oh, liens don't work, the court actions don't work. None of this stuff works. We're just wasting our time. Not true. From the no bills due to the lien to the court action, now update. My friend who I did the paperwork for, he called up to the provost marshal because he's a little bit, you know, he don't think it's working. But I told him it is working. Just be patient. So the provost marshal told him, he told him the name is on the list. They will take the action once all of this clears out. This person that we have put the court action on, they tied up all his ways to do commerce. He can't leave the country. The only way he's going to leave the country is the way we said he's going to leave the country. That's right by them handcuffs of the military police off to Guantanamo Bay. And the only one that can stop that or change it is the person that signed that lien and did the court action. So, great. That shows you we have remedy.
Islam and Moroccan Empire.
Yes.
Islam.
And one more thing. After we did, you know, this is my thing. After we did all the termination corporate contracts, I sent a creditor letter to a corporation, and now they want to return all the finance I had paid them, and they're letting me use the service for free. So again,
Islam and Moroccan Empire.
Everything that you guys said would work is working, but we have to give it time, and everything is good.
Yes, we do.
Islam.
Yes, we do.
I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. There's
Yes.
a whole bunch going on in the chat with regard to that too. A lot of Islams, a lot of agreement as well. Listen, all we had to do was speak and then wait and let it catch on. Let it give the, because see, we're training them just like we did before. We actually had to train them previously from before, and now we're training them again, and they're getting it. They just needed a little bit of time to hear the heirs' voices because they haven't really heard our voices in these high numbers before. But now they know. So, you know, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I had another report from another Moor who is actually close to me in terms of biology. Who had done a demonstration a year ago and just now seeing the results. And the results were definite and sure. So all we had to do was speak and let them know that no matter what, we're going to be here. We're going to govern our vast estate. We're not going anywhere. And we're going to keep speaking. We will continue governing. We will govern our own affairs because this whole land is our affair, all of it. Every bit of it belongs to the Lord.
Islam.
Islam. Welcome. And we're not going to stop at all. Continuity of government is very important. It is key. Okay? Because guess what? If we decide that we want to stop governing and we slack off on what we're doing, guess what happens? The Albions and the fake corporations start trying to occupy all that we're doing.
Andrew A.
Islam. And that's not how this works. It's not how this works. The way that this works is the heirs are going to continue governing the vast estate. We will not be stopped by anyone at all, ever. The estate belongs to the heirs, and we're here.
Islam.
And in fact, we are the estate. That's why we have to govern it and no one else. Because we're actually the estate walking around. There's no one else that has that authority and that makeup, that genome. Islam. Was someone else going to give an update on something going on in their territory?
Islam?
Islam.
Yeah, this is Sheikh Malik Charlotte out of Canaan Land Territory. And I actually received a phone call just the other day from the mechanic, the owner, that held my conveyance from since December, begging me to get his conveyance after I did a court action and he was notified. And so right now, all I'm doing is just preparing the Defense Production Command with specific instructions, just as Justice Jeremiah mentioned in point form, and I will be going up to pick my conveyance very soon.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Thank you, Justice Sheikh Malik L.
Can we bid?
Wow. Islam, welcome. Okay, are there any other updates from the territories? That was, wow. I'm telling you, Moors, listen, they must do as commanded by the heirs. I'm going to keep saying it and saying it and saying it. This estate belongs to the heirs. We are governing. We are standing. We are declaring and proclaiming. We're doing all that we should be doing, and we're going to continue doing that. There will be no end. We will do that into perpetuity. So please, no one think that that's ever going to stop or that we're going to take a break. We have no chill, no let up at all. We have none. We keep going. And that's what all of this is all about with regard to the heirs and all of that.
Islam?
Yes.
Good day. Good day, everybody. This is Izu Gibson Bay, Michigama Territory.
Yes.
Got an interesting situation in Michigama here where the governor went from requiring a mask to, the alleged governor, the so-called governor, the Gretchen, and stepped up the requirement to where everybody, in order to enter into a business, needs to get a name.
We cannot hear you. Your sound just went out.
Okay, is that any better?
That's better. Go ahead.
Okay. So the so-called governor of Michigan has required for everybody to wear a mask, with another level up where she's threatening the businesses that they will take their license if they let people if they let people in without a mask. And yeah. So, and I've gone very far with not wearing a mask, even with my former employment, and so I'm not wearing a mask, and I know it doesn't apply to me for multiple reasons, and I have an affidavit that I'm putting on the record stating so, that I've actually put on the record already. With her, with sending an email to her and letting her know. And so I kind of got what I need to do with it, but I was thinking maybe as a group, maybe there's something that we could do as a group instead of going into each business and battling it out with people who don't know what's going on. They haven't read the executive order. So I'm trying to, kind of brainstorm on ideas where we can, what we can do as a group in order to, not have to deal with that on the small scale. And I yield.
Just several things. First off, who in the world is giving orders over there? Who is that? She needs to state her name and nationality for the record, the one talking about a mask. She needs to state her name and nationality for the record. Second of all, the businesses that are trying to enforce that, you, Justice Izu, that's your territory. So what do you need to do? You need to lien them all. Anyone, and see, that's why we have to lien, period. That's why we must lien, so that everyone knows who's in charge in the territory. Lien the businesses and then do court actions on them. And just go right on down the road, doing court actions on all of them, notifying them all that they're listening to someone who is a bandit on the land and not the government. You're the government. And then with regard to the court actions even, okay, just a moment. There's a little bit of noise coming in some of the background, so I'm going to mute just a few people. And so with regard to the liens even, this is what you want to do. Send those businesses and that fake over there, because see, governor means bay. You're the governor. There are no foreigners on this land that hold that position. None. Because we said so. We've already said that. We did a court action on all of them. Okay? We did a court action on all of them. And so just a moment. And so you all have to do the court actions on those same ones in your territories also. Okay? So make sure that you do court actions on all of them. And this is where we are even with the lien situation. Hear me carefully with that lien situation. Because we've done a great job as far as the corporations and stuff are concerned. They're lien right on out of business. Okay. Now we're working now at the level of the smaller businesses and the 501c3s. Okay. We have to start working in that area in our territories because there's a few things going on with that need to be rectified. Okay. But with the lien situation, this is how we're doing the liens now. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you didn't do it this way before, we can start doing the ones that you're doing from this point this way. We're going to give them, and this is those small businesses that you're talking about. This is the 501c3s. This is anybody that we have not gotten to yet. What we're going to do is send them a 10-day notice for them to comply with the Constitution and the treaty. Okay? Just send a 10-day notice. And if you decide to send a treaty with that, it needs to be a decapitalized treaty, one that you have printed up on Moorish government letterhead in all lowercase letters, okay? And then what you need to do is give them 10 days to comply with the treaty and the Constitution. And if compliance is not met, now this is something you can do all by mail. You don't have to even leave your domicile to do this. If compliance is not met in terms of the treaty and the Constitution in their behavior, we don't expect a response from them. What can a subject say when the government and the law says to do something? They can't say anything about that. When we tell them get in alignment with the treaty and the Constitution, that's something they should have been doing the whole time anyway. So we don't expect a response or rebuttal or talking back or anything of that nature. We expect them to do what the law says to do. The law. We're pointing straight to the law. After you've given them the 10 days, if there is no compliance, give them 10 more days to remedy, because that's what it's going to be, a remedy affidavit with notice of intent to lien. Give them 10 days to remedy. After that first 10 days, give them another 10 days, because we're going to be fair, but hold on and just listen to the whole process. After the second 10 days, if there's no remedy, then on that third 10 days, because it's going to be a total of 30 days that we give them to remedy whatever it is that needs to be remedied. We're giving them 30 days altogether. On the third time, when you say, okay, I've given you 2 remedy affidavits, commands for remedy, twice I've given you command for remedy. This is the final one, and we are preparing to lien you. And if there is not remedy after that third one, right on that 30th day, you do the lien, do the court action, okay? And when you do the lien and you do the court action, and you stamp and sign everything with regard to the lien, the court action, and those 3 opportunities to remedy that you give them, if they don't remedy everything after that point, and you have done those things with regard to the lien and the court action, then you go into a situation where you can then, if you can, find out where they bank. Find out where they're doing their commerce from, what bank they're doing their commerce. It's going to take some research, a little bit of research. But it won't be difficult because you can look at at corporate statistics and corporate data in several different places, okay? And you don't have to pay for that information. But even if you don't know where they bank at, you send that lien to, you want to make sure that you have a termination of all corporate contracts on the public record and send it to any bank. It can be any bank because they're all the same anyway. But it would behoove you to do the research and find out what bank they bank at specifically. And when you find out what bank they bank at, send all of that documentation, the 3 opportunities for remedy, the court action, and the lien, everything stamped and signed and sealed on government letterhead. You send it to the bank that they bank at and tell them that, because the lien is going to have an amount in it. It's going to have, usually our liens are $100 million in gold-backed lawful coinage or gold-backed lawful currency. So when you send the lien to the bank, okay, you're not going to take fiat at all. You're going to tell the bank, you instruct them to place the credit, okay, for that lien into your account. The credit. Because that's really all they're dealing with anyway. The fiat is not even a thing. The fiat doesn't even count. It has no value. But the credits, which is ones and zeros anyway, can be credited to your account or to your account from their bank, because you have a lawful court that says, and it's the highest sovereign court. When you have a sovereign court that says that's given a ruling and you have a default judgment on the lien piece, okay, then you can tell them, okay, you all may not have 100 million, but we want whatever they have in there that they're transacting business with, it needs to come to in the form of gold-backed credits into my account. Now, when we talk about my account more, you have to do your work first, okay? Your work first is nationality. It's also termination of all corporate contracts. And then in the termination of all corporate contracts, you are stepping up as the creditor, and you're saying that any bank accounts or anything like that is being used on this land in those enndigeneous and wardship names, etc., that is a resource on my land. I'm the creditor to that. Lien, and that's why we've been saying to do the things that we've been saying to do thus far, which is lien the straw. You know, lien your wardship and lien the war name. Okay, the wardship and the war name. And then make sure that whenever you state who you are, you're stating it in all lowercase letters. Okay? And more need to terminate the corporate contract, step up as the creditor, and say anything that you're using on your land is a resource, to include those banking account numbers. That's a credit. And many of you have seen my termination of corporate contracts. I put it on the public record so everybody could see it and see. And I listed out all of that stuff. All of it. Bank accounts, VA card numbers, Social Security numbers, any of those debtor transmitting utilities. Okay, I listed all of them out and said, I don't have a contract with any of this. All of that stuff is a resource on my land, and I can use it when I feel like it, but I still have no contract with you. And that way, you're protected with regard to the banking. because we have already converted that whole thing over to go back for the heirs. And when I say we, all Moors have done that simply by stepping up saying we don't, that the Constitution says that gold and silver in payment of debt is lawful. That's how that happened, okay, along with all that we have done thus far as a nation and as the government, okay? And you tell them, okay, take out, clear out, pull all the credits over to your account, and if there's nothing in there, which most likely it's not going to be, it may be some in there, because some of the, but if they took in $5 that they're thinking is money, it's not even real money. It's ones and zeros. And when we do what we do in terms of termination of corporate contracts, we have the Midas touch. We turn, everything we touch turns to gold. Okay, and that's why we base everything that we do on on lawful affidavits on government letterhead. That's why we do that, because that's going to solidify that everything that has to do with us is in a sovereign jurisdiction, the sovereign jurisdiction, including the court actions, including the banking, including the whatever else is coming in. Okay, and you tell them to put whatever is in there in there, and then if there's nothing in there, add a certain number of credits. And it should be something, you know, you can look up the business and see what they're worth, okay? And you will have already liened the business, so that's par for the course right there. That's already a valid sovereign claim, command, default judgment. But then you tell them, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to put in this business. You know, and you can print off what the business is supposedly worth. And if it's a mom and pop business, get in alignment with the law, mom and pop. And, you know, I'm saying mom and pop, but you're not our mom and pop. Okay? Small businesses, get in alignment so you don't end up leaned up with a heavy lien on you and everything's frozen because the heirs have taken it. Okay, so that is how we want to proceed. And then and heirs, let's be studious about studious. I don't mean studious. I mean let's be the excellent researchers that we are, and look up. Take the time to look up what the business is worth. And if it's a mom and pop, you can kind of guesstimate what it's worth, and say that one right there, I have a valid lien on it.
Maria Jemima Bay, Texas Territory.
Grand Rising. And I have a lien on it, and I also have a court action, and that all of that is to be honored, and it needs to be put into my account as credit. And our accounts are not really bank accounts. They are sovereign resource accounts. That's what we call them, sovereign resource accounts. Okay. The difference being when you do the termination of corporate contracts, that's going to turn it from something that a citizen might call it, okay, that is really a debtor transmitting utility, to something that the sovereigns use as a resource on their land. So we call it sovereign resource account. And then when you put any numbers in there, whatever numbers you put in there in terms of sovereign resource accounts, don't ever put a minus sign. Always turn it to a plus sign. So if there's for example, a bank account that has and let's say the number is 12-3456, then as a sovereign resource account, it's going to be 12 plus 3456. That's the sovereign resource number. Okay? Because we're not debtors. That's why they use dashes in everything they do, because they know it's debt. Okay? And we use plus signs because as mathematicians and math scientists, the Moors already know that we're adding to as the creditor. We can't even possibly have a minus sign in any of the numbers that we use. It's just impossible almost, you know. I'm sure the Moors are smart enough to find a way to use a minus sign, but it wouldn't be for anything that we do. Islam?
Islam, Empress?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so accounts that we already have set up. So is it a good idea to go ahead and link those particular banks with those accounts and then do our changeover? Because some of them, they have the ID. I'll just say in my case, they have my new ID, but what I haven't given them is the universal sovereign security affidavit yet.
Okay,
and
what you want to do
I have
is
direct deposits going there too, and so that's the little glitch I have to figure out here. What do you recommend?
It's not a glitch.
Okay.
It's not a glitch. All you have to do, Empress, is make sure that you have a termination of all corporate contracts to include those debtor transmitting utility numbers, and then you say, I'm the creditor to that sovereign resource.
Okay, I have that in place already.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Okay.
So, and then, you know, make sure that anything that you do, that you include that termination of corporate contracts in it.
Okay.
With regard to that bank.
Okay.
And have you done a court action on the bank?
No, that's what I was asking because that's what I'm planning to do.
Yes, all
Okay.
Moors
Okay.
should do court actions
Okay.
on their on those banking institutions, because that's going to actually do them a favor and change them from debtors transmitting utility institutions to creditor transmitting utility institutions.
Yes.
For each Moor who does it. If there's a Moor who has not done that, then you're still kind of dealing with a debtor transmitting institution. Even though you've done everything, if you haven't terminated corporate contracts, do that. Because that way, each Moor must step up for themselves and do it. Even though I've done court actions on all of those debtor transmitting institutions, and now as far as we're concerned, those are sovereign resource. According to the law, they're sovereign resource institutions now because we have a ruling from a higher court, but each Moor should do that.
So if you have a dual account, if there's two of us on there, each one of us needs to do that. Okay. All right.
I would say yes, each one needs to do it, and to take that a step further, if one of, let's say you have it with your with a consort or a spouse, and the spouse is not awake yet.
Right.
That means that the spouse is still a servant, and so everything that you say actually goes, and not what they say. And
okay,
that's the beauty of that.
Okay, great. That's what I need to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Islam.
Yep.
And that goes for domiciles and all that other stuff. If the spouses are not, if they haven't declared their nationality, then they're subject to the things that are done by the heir. So it would probably behoove them to, you know, some might consider that a good thing because then they get to have all the say on what's going on with the resource, you know. But that's just the way it is. You know, subjects and servants and slaves they don't own anything. So they have no say over anything. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing with regard to the citizens and their stuff being taken up out of, and they have no say whatsoever because those corporations or companies, rather, that are taking the stuff are taking it because the heirs have said, we're using our own credit. So anybody that's been using our credit can't use it. Because we have to get our, you know, we're going to be doing what we do as far as our credit is concerned. Our credit belongs to us. We're going to use it to do what we do.
No, Islam, I have a question about that.
Yes.
Does that apply to the credit unions, or do they fall under a separate category, the credit unions?
No, okay. They're all the same. Every corporation, I don't care if it's a I don't care what it is. They're all resources on our land, and they all get the same treatment because they all have the same status. I think that's beautiful. Because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just do what we do, you know.
Yeah, and I've leaned that credit union, so I'm even more excited about the news now.
Yes, yes, we must do that. Yes, Islam. And again, more those, our judicial governing authority on the land is in full swing. And so, you know, it's best to go ahead and just first start with leaning everything that has to do with you so that you build a safety net around you and your resources. And that's what the termination of corporate contracts and the court actions, this is how I did it. I did a termination of corporate contracts, and then I took that termination of corporate contracts, which listed everything that ever applied to me. And then I even put a statement at the bottom that said, or at, you know, in there saying any contracts that I have, whether it's knowing or unknowing, any corporate contracts, they're all terminated, whether I know about it or not, because sometimes they create derivatives and all that other stuff. No, all of that is terminated, and I'm the creditor to all of that. So whatever I use on my land, I'm going to use it freely, and I am not bound by contractual garbage whereby they feel like they can arrest people and do all types of madness over a contract. We don't do that. That's a no-no on our land when we terminate those corporate contracts. And so then I took the termination of corporate contracts and just all I did was build a cause of action around that termination of corporate contracts. And then I just, you know, everybody that's listed on the termination of corporate contracts is automatically listed on the court action. And they all get liened, they all get, you know, the court action and all of that. So it's just, it's a step-by-step. You can, in one fell swoop, you can fix everything that has to do with you. One fell swoop. The termination of corporate contracts, and then take that termination of corporate contracts, all the research that you've done from it to pull up all those account numbers and all of that stuff, social and, you know, all of that stuff, loans, anything, and take that same thing and copy and paste it into a lien, because whatever those corporations are, they're going to be listed on the lien. And then you take that and copy and paste it then into a court action, and then send it out to everyone or place it on. It's better to mail it out using the government mailing process that's up on YouTube, because when they receive things using that government mailing process, it further solidifies our standing on the land, okay? It further solidifies it. Not that we need that, because even in our sleep, our standing on the land was solidified. It's been solidified since time immemorial. Okay. I did not need to go that long on that piece, but apparently the ancestors wanted that to be brought out. A couple of other things. Are there any other questions about that?
Islam.
Islam.
When you send in the lien to the bank, let me start this over. I sent in an affidavit to the bank to terminate a dual account, and on that affidavit, I also told them that when they terminate it, to open up a new account. So my question is, I don't have to send any money or currency for them to open up that account, correct?
Okay. There's a slight little hair I want to split in there, and this will answer the question about whether you should send anything to them. When you tell them, when you terminate all corporate contracts, you're essentially saying that they're no longer involved in your processes, and because everything is coming anyway. Everything that's on our land, believe it or not, has already been automated. And anything that we need to do, we can do it without the interference of any Albion or foreign person claiming to be a human being. We don't need to go to tellers. We don't need to do any of that. So when you tell them, when you send a termination command, then it's really not a good idea to then re-employ them and say, do this and do this and do this, because that's still, unless they know for sure that you've made it clear that they are subjects, okay? But you really want to speak to the system. You want to speak to the banking system. You don't necessarily even have to speak to the person. You speak to the system. And by the system, that would be the CEO. You send it to the CEO and the one doing business as CEO, rather, and you tell them what to do. Okay? We don't do anything with regard to frontline tellers and all of that stuff. That stuff, those are called retail shops. That's for the citizen to do. The nobility should never even have to get up off the couch to go do anything like that because we're busy governing our vast estate. So we send everything by mail, send it directly to the one doing business, the CEO, and you tell them that system what to do. Because we're really speaking to systems whether you know it or not. We're not really even speaking to them at all. They're not doing anything. Everything that we needed to have done is already done in terms of banking is done on, automatically at your command. Even if you go online, you don't have to speak to any human. And that's how you get them off your land, but you still are able to use the resources. So again, all that we do, we speak straight to the one doing business as CEO, and that's where we handle all that we do. Okay? And don't send it. What would you send them? You gonna send them some gold? Why would you send them gold? They can't use it. They're a corporation.
Islam.
You're not gonna send them fiat either. Because if you tell them that they have to follow the Constitution, guess who else has to enforce the Constitution on them? And you can't enforce the Constitution on them if you're sending them fiat. Because, see, that's like them trying to create a debt and you're acknowledging the debt.
Brother Anye Bouile Ill, Republic of Tennessee.
Okay. Islam, welcome. Okay. And so we're not going to enforce any debts. We're not going to consent to them and agree to them, Don't send them anything. And the fact that they're saying that you have to have something to open an account or whatever, no. And Justice Wilson, this is important too about those types of commands. You don't have to ask them to open anything. When in your affidavit you tell them you've already opened it.
Yes. Okay.
Tell them you already opened it. And again, remember, Morris, and this is something that I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's really important. We are the chief of all companies in all lowercase letters on our liens. So where Bank of America is concerned, if you put Bank of America in all lowercase letters, then guess who the CEO of that all lowercase letter bank is? The Moors. All of them. Every company on this land, the Moors are the chiefs. That's where they get that CEO stuff from. It stands for chief, and Albions can't be chiefs. Chiefs are the indigenous. So they hypothecated that and said chief executive officer. But in all lowercase letters, we're it. We're the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, in all lowercase letters. We tell them what to do. That system. We don't need the Albions to do anything. And when I say Albions, the foreigners, We don't need the foreigners to do anything commercially for us. We do that for ourselves. You speak to the system and tell the system you opened an account and that this is the account number. And you can, again, Justice Wilson, the fraudulent debtor transmitting utility then becomes the sovereign resource. So you take that number that they assigned to it initially and put a dash in there. Okay, you take that number and make it a creditor number. It can be the same sequence of numbers, except it's a plus sign and not a minus.
Okay.
Okay? And they all have minuses in them because that's how they delineate between the creditors and the debtors.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, that if you want to see the reverse of that and how everything kind of got a little bit upside down initially, Empress Michelle Talbot Bay brought forth a document about someone by the name of Pacer. And in that document, if you want to look it up, it's P-A-Y-S-E-U-R. In that document, it describes how the foreigner by the name of Pacer took all of the allodiall companies, and all he did really was capitalize them and then take them over. And then he put the capitalized mess on the public record, and because the heirs were not looking at the fact that there's capital letters in it, someone thought it was real. And then they said, oh, Mr. Pacer is worth, you know, $672 trillion because he owns all these corporations. He incorporated everything fraudulently, by the way. So look that up. Look into what Pacer did. I forget his first name. But we are doing the opposite of that. Okay? We're doing the opposite of that. We're putting everything back in its status that it should be in. And it all belongs to the heirs. Period. It's that simple. And just, yes, Louis Pacer. Thank you, Empress Valerie. Okay. Are there any other questions about that? Justice Apollo, are you here?
Islam, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Give me about 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to yield the floor. Okay. I just want to give a couple of few updates. So we know that we are the original Rome in all lowercase letters. We're the originals, and then there was a copycat Rome that came after that in all capital letters, and they hypothecated Rome itself. Okay, but we're the original Rome, and in ancient, we're the original everything. We're the original Phoenicians, we're the original Greeks, we're the original everything. And then there's the hypothecation version, okay, which is fraud. In ancient Rome, okay, and this is just a little factoid and something for us to think about as we continue governing judicially on our own land. In ancient Rome, the legislature would always meet at the gates of the city or the territory when it was time to make governmental decisions, okay? So gates are synonymous with government. That's why in ancient Rome you see the gates of the city were huge. I mean huge, because that is where everyone would meet when it was time to make a governmental decision. They would say, okay, meet me at the gate. That's where we'll go, and we'll take our votes there, and we'll do whatever, make decisions, and have whatever discussions we need to have at the gate. We are the ancient primogenitors for the North Gate. Okay, for the North Gate. The North government. The North is the highest point, which is no coincidence. It's not a coincidence that we are the primogenitors and the heirs to the North Gate. Therefore, we are the oldest, most ancient government on earth by bloodline and birthright. This is why government for the whole earth has always been at North America, the North Gate, Al-Marak, a-Nexum. That's why every corporation on the earth had to be registered where? Washington District for Columbia. Because government of all resources starts here with us. And I have to congratulate the heirs on that lien process, because the liens really have done an awesome job of getting these corporations in alignment. Okay? Getting them in line and turning them into companies, which is what they should be. A company is a military term for a group that is in lockstep with the commands being given. Okay? It is stunningly clear that our liens have hit their mark, but we can't stop here. We must keep going, because like I was saying earlier, these smaller businesses, these towing companies and all of that stuff, guess what? They were in cahoots, basically. They were conspiring with the bigger fake corporations doing business as, you know, courts and policy enforcers and all of that. So the smaller businesses, they are not exempt from judgments and justice by the heirs. We have to get to them too. We have to. Because a lot of what has gone on has been lawlessness by them. Okay? And we're not at war with anybody. We're at peace with everyone. We're not picking up guns. We don't need them. We don't need them. All we need is our pen. We proclaim peace on our land, and that's what it's going to be. And so these the up and down in the strip malls, and you know, these restaurants and things like that, you know, half the time they won't even let the heirs come in and use the restroom. You know, it's just all types of craziness on our land, and we can go ahead and take the responsibility for that, because we did not know who we were, and ignorance of the law is no excuse. So we take responsibility for it, but it's also our responsibility to fix it. And that's why I say we're not at war with anyone. We're fixing what's going on our land so that peace may abound. And it abounds already. Even with all what appears to be a lot of chaos. Okay? It appears chaotic, but think about it. This is very peaceful. All that's going on with the heirs is very peaceful, as long as we keep it that way. And we will. We love peace. And believe it or not, the rest of the earth is so happy that we are waking up and saying, peace, be still, because they're war weary. They know we're awake. They are 100% doing all that they can to assist us, but they know that we have to stand in our own sovereign status. So we honor them as well. All of the nations, of the indigenous nations of the earth, the ones who are in our corner and who are cheering us on, we love them, and we're doing all that we can, and we're going to keep doing it, and they can depend on us in terms of standing on our own feet and sticking to it, okay, and continuity of government. So about 4 more minutes, and then I'll yield the floor to Justice Apollo. Let's see. With regard to the 501c3s, so it is very clear, even for those who may not be having any issues with them in your territory, when you go onto the internet, because I've done it several times recently, I've gone onto the internet, and I look at things that really probably is not necessarily geared towards sleeping Moors. but a lot of the 501c3s that are out there, and in particular the foreign Christian churches that are out there, I've been kind of just perusing around out there, and I don't know if 501c3 is supposed to be political or not. Well, let me say that's not true. I do know it's not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be talking about guns and war and politics and all of that in those places, the 501c3s. But that is all they're talking about these days. And so we need to go ahead and get them in alignment, because they really are supposed to be talking about the Constitution and the treaty and how they know who God really is. Because they know who God really is. They know that He created them. That's the reason that we allowed Christianity in the first place. We gave them Christianity so they would have a form of expression of thanks to their Creator. That's the original Orthodox, quote unquote, and that's in all lowercase letters, Christianity. We gave them an outlet. But of course, that's been hypothecated and all of that. And so we have to get that back in alignment too. We're not warring against anyone. It's affidavit and court action. That's not guns, okay? And it's not going to be guns. We don't need them, okay? And that's why we don't need them, because our pens are mightier than the sword. And so with these 501c3s, many of them are not telling the truth. They're still colonizing straight from the pulpit. They're colonizing straight from the pulpit. Grand Rising, welcome. Okay, they're colonizing straight from the pulpit. And so, you know, when you see them on the internet or wherever, and you see them talking about things that have nothing to do with lawfulness, the treaty, the Constitution, and who they're and all of that, then do the whole 30-day thing that we just talked about. Send them a notice. I mean, not a notice. It's not a notice. It's actually a command, a consular court command, stating on this date, at this time, you were talking about this from your pulpit, and as a 501c3. Now, do your research and make sure that they're a 501c3. And if they're not, they shouldn't be really even on there like that at all. Okay? And that is, or you can just send them something very not specific that says all corporations, to include 501c3s, are hereby commanded to be in alignment with the treaty and the Constitution, and those who are not, this is notice of intent to lien.
Islam?
Okay. Islam.
I'd like to say one thing about the 501c3. The 501c3 was created by Lyndon Johnson, and it was done on purpose to try to get everybody from knowing your nationality and get involved with these other groups like these fraternities and sororities, and not to speak out on truth. So it was a divisive concept that President Lyndon Johnson came up with to get people out of knowing their nationality and get involved with these other groups that's under the corporation.
Absolutely. And that's why, yes, thank you for that, Justice. I appreciate that.
Amari Bay.
Yes, Justice Bay. That is why, you know, even now, most of the 501c3s have even been so bold as to put a banner of amity and commerce with yellow war fringes up on the pulpit, openly declaring war. And whenever you see that, they need to get a 10-day notice that says we're not at war, we're at peace. And you don't even have to tell them to remove that. They know what that means. Just tell them we're at peace, we proclaim peace, and all corporations that are not in alignment with the treaty and the Constitution, this is notice of intent to lien you. You have 10 days to comply. And then 10 days later, send them a second notice, and then 10 days later send them that final notice of remedy. They need to provide the remedy, and in fact, we provide the remedy because we know we're the remedy. They can't provide remedy. All they can do is follow command. And that will also give the Moors who need a little bit of who see things going on, and you need to get accustomed to doing court action. You can start there. Okay, you can start there. Again, we have enough to do on our land to do court actions 24/7 for the next 1,000 years. And we might have gotten them all by then, maybe. So our court should always be going at all times, and it is, because even when we go to the grocery stores, that's court. Court is anytime we open our mouths, the law is coming out. So our courts do go 24/7. When you get pulled over on the side of the road, know that that's court, because it is. Okay. So, yes, with these 501c3s, they need to be in alignment with the sovereign supreme law for the land. They need to be pointing their people to the Constitution and the treaty, and actually the Constitution for them. They need to be pointing them to the Constitution and telling them that they, that's why we're here on the land of the heirs. Is we need to be in alignment with the Constitution, because that's what they gave us. Okay, so no more pretending like let's see. Can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see the time. No more. There doesn't. Now we don't expect them to be like. We don't expect them to be like, oh, the Moors, this and that and other. We don't need them to tell our story. We can tell it because they've been lying long enough. Okay, so we got that part. We just need them to point everybody to the Constitution. All the citizens need to know about the Constitution. That's their job. Tell them about that Constitution and how they need to be in alignment with it. Because now is the time. And just like with the corporations and the liens that have just completely done what they needed to do with regard to those corporations, many of them are not even in business today because we're giving people plenty of notice. You're getting plenty of notice. You're getting lawful due process. But the heirs, we can no longer allow not another day to go by and our land be unlawful. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay, and so if you see any of those 501c3s doing that, send them 3, give them 3 chances to remedy, and then lien them and call them into court, and then do that whole process. And we'll be talking more about the process of getting it to the banks and how to do that by mail, etc. Okay, and we'll be talking about that some more. So I've gone a little bit about 5 minutes over. Justice Apollo had some information that he wanted to share with regard to the banking. He's been doing some banking demonstrations and things, and so I want to yield the floor to Justice Apollo. And Morris, please make sure you look in the chat because there's some great information coming up in that chat from all the heirs, including Justice Michelle, Justice Giramore, and also there is a court action that has gone into the chat as well. So we want to be sure that we, in fact, Justice Apollo, can I announce the court action or
go
actually
ahead. Go ahead.
Those who, yes, Empress Malo, do you want to go ahead and announce your court actions? Because I thought I saw 2 of them in there, unless that was the same one twice.
Yes, 1 second. The court action is Monday, July 13th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and in Arizona. Dial-in number is 518-425-1624. No PIN is needed. And the online ID, you can just use Malo _ L _ Washita _ Bay, Islam.
Islam. And I usually, for those who need to know about those, I usually just take a photo of what's in the chat so that I have that information and can post it on social media as well. Also, there are two other court actions.
Islam.
Yes.
This is Valerie Barker Bay, and I have a court action on July 15th at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, and 12 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
Call-in number is 425-436-6200. Access code 181995. Meeting ID is VBarker536. Thank you.
Islam. Is it in the chat, Empress? Justice Barker Bay?
Yes, I put it in the chat, but I didn't see it. I'll put it in there again.
Please do, so that they can get that information. And then I believe there was another one as well that was in there. I believe Justice Wilton.
Islam. Yes,
Islam.
I have a court action which will be July 15th, which is Wednesday at 3:30 Central Standard Time, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. The dial-in number is 425-436-6200. Access number is 189766. Thank you.
Islam. Did you put it in the chat? Yeah, you did put it in the chat. Okay. Okay, good. Go ahead, Empress.
Yes, I just wanted to, for anyone who cannot see the chat, for the Moors to reference the Act of Algiers, 1906. That is a treaty that was signed with all nations in their allegiance to the Moroccan Empire. That was one that I just learned about. And there are several others. One is called the J Treaty, Jay, and there are at least two more that were referenced in a video by Brother Shem and Professor Abdul Mosley Bay. And the name of that video is Black Lives Do Not Matter, or Black Lives Don't Matter. So I would encourage everyone to check that one out. This information filled. I yield.
Islam. Are there any other court actions as well? Thank you, Empress Michelle. Thank you.
Yes, Islam.
Islam.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I got a court action coming up on Thursday on, oh, by the way, this is almost Salahotep Bay, Kimball, Washington State Territory. On July 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and the dialing number is 602-580-9457, and the access code is 432-1652. And the if you want to dial in online, it's join.freeconferencecall.com, LAWGJR69. Islam, Morris.
Thank you, Islam. Justice, let's see. Can you? There's someone in the chat that's asking for my email address. It won't need my email. You won't need mine. You don't need mine. You just need yours to start that application. All right.
Islam.
All right. Islam. Yes.
This is Empress Leal Bat Yisrael, and I have a court case coming up on tomorrow, July 13th, at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Can you hear me, Empress?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. The conference call number is area code 623-600-8255. 3746. The conference code is 889649. Now, Empress, I'm new at this, and on my computer, I don't know how to allow people to come on to do a video chat. My question is, I feel more comfortable just doing a conference call. Is that possible? Audio?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Well, then
you just
all
go on to that, and we'll just call in, and it automatically does that unless you hit the camera, unless any of us hit the camera.
Okay,
and
I just wanted
the camera,
to.
You can see us, but we can't see you.
Oh, okay, understood. Well, that is the way that I'm going to do this, and there's something else I was going to say, but of course I've kind of slipped away. But anyway, again, if anyone can join, it's at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I know it may be early for the West Coast, kind of like a Justice Early Bird, but I just that's kind of how I want to get this ball rolling. I'm an early riser, and just want to kind of do it early. So Islam, and thank you, Morris, Grand Rising.
Islam, and state your appellation again so that the Morris have it.
I will. It's Justice Lael Bat Yisrael.
Okay.
Yisrael.
Beautiful.
Oh, one other announcement, Justice Light. I have posted in the Moorish Federal Council Public Records calling all Moors in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you are online, if you could go to the Facebook site, the public record site, and there is a posting up there. And we would love for any other Moors, because I'm new to this, and we are looking for all knowledge so that we can all become as competent as we are able to be.
Yes. Thank you, Empress. And you actually are ancient to this.
Hey. Oh. Hey, it's the best, the most beautifulest thing in the world. It is just unbelievable.
It is.
It's unbelievable.
We're remembering.
Absolutely. I have stories, and I also have documentation of it over the years. So it's beautiful seeing it come into fruition.
It is.
Well, Grand Rising Moors, and if anyone can join the call tomorrow, please. If you can join the court cause of action tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, that would be great. Also, if you can join our Dallas-Fort Worth DFW meet and greet, our first meeting on Wednesday. That we did that. Well, actually, I'm saying we, but I put that out there because we wanted to have questions so that when we come on the Thursday night call or Sunday, that we would be prepared to ask the pertinent questions to get straight answers.
Yes, Islam. We need those.
Yes. So I'm hoping that you all can join us. Islam, I yield.
Islam. Empress, make sure that you put that information in the Moorish American Consulate Facebook pages. And if you can tag me if you can.
I will. I've already posted it, but maybe I can go back in. I believe I can, and tag you, and I will do that.
Thank you.
Islam, I yield.
Islam. Okay, Justice Apollo. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, Empress. I wasn't going to say too much, just some things that I thought we should keep in mind, because just in researching like some of the IOU forms, and we had watched a video a few weeks ago on the IOU forms. When the bank is lending out money, just to keep in mind that they're lending out money that they actually don't have, and they're giving you something that's actually yours, in terms of just when you sign the paper on a mortgage form, your signature to promise to pay back the money that they're giving you, that's the actual money that's being used in the bank. So there's this thing that's called runs on the bank. When people become suspicious about their securities being held in the bank, everybody in the community will come and tell them to actually open the vault and give them their money, and they don't have it. And then that's when the economy collapses. And just to keep in mind that when we're switching over to being in the right status that we are, and we deal in gold, that's the first thing that fixes that, is that the gold that we have, just to be honorable and noble and using it and not letting it turn into debt. And just how the mortgage form could be an IOU, the lien it could also be looked at as a form of an IOU. So just in demonstration, in terms of your demonstrations, opening up an account, presenting Moorish ID as well as a letter of credit, which we have, and your lien that actually backs it up, because it's all backed by gold. And also to demonstrate via your trust
now,
account.
When you say letter of credit, when you say letter of credit, you're saying creditor letter. In other words, saying that you're the creditor. And actually, a termination of all corporate contracts serves as that as well. There's something stating that we are the creditors.
Right. And also to keep in mind the element of the trust. And you're right, Empress, because on the paper it says letter for credit. It doesn't say letter of credit. Of course, we're technical and precise when it comes to those things. But generally, when you go to the accounts that we all have in which the resources are being held, I'm led to believe that it's the trust account and everything that's being held in trust. So if you filled out some of your trust documents in your declaration of trust via ecclesiastical law, the name and stuff that you have on your trust, whatever name you gave your trust, that would be like the name on the debit card or on the sovereign credit card that you may have, or in the check that you write, it would be the name of your trust going into, as we also said, liening your straw man could be going into, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are the two different ways that you could do it. What Empress Light was saying earlier, utilizing the liens and just accessing the corporation as a sovereign resource, that just requires you to have a UCC1 straw man lien. But you can, if you don't want to deal in that at all and just use only like gold, then using it via your trust, if that makes sense.
Well, here's the thing. Those are great points and those are great suggestions. The more again, as with anything that we have always said, always do your own research and always demonstrate at the level of your overstanding, okay? We want to be sure that we do the study and demonstrate only when you are clear on what the demonstration is and the ins and outs of it. The safety net is always going to be the termination of all corporate contracts, and anything that you use is a resource, a sovereign resource on your land. That's going to be the key to any demonstration. I don't care what the demonstration is. That is going to be a key, and the court actions and liens are going to be the key, because those create an impenetrable circle that they can't get out of. Okay? It's an impenetrable financial circle that they cannot get out of. When you lien them, that means they can't use fiat. Now, this is the beautiful part about that. And then when you have a higher court action along with a lien, then that's even more powerful. And then you say that you're the creditor. You make it known that you're the creditor. Hey, impenetrable circle. Okay. But even with regard to that, you use the term ecclesiastical. I'm glad you used that term, because there has been much back and forth about that term. So let me say this about that term. That term is absolutely what we should be using. Some say we shouldn't use it because it's about the Pope and stuff. It's not when it's in all lowercase letters. And then if you're unsure, always spell it the way the Phoenicians spell it, which is going to be any way that's different from the way the corporations spell it. And when you spell it your way, according to your whatever it is that you want it to mean, it can mean that. Now, let me tell you something very important about that word. The word ecclesia has been around much longer than any church and any corporate pope. The word ecclesia in ancient Rome, now we know in ancient Rome there were no foreign, corporations and all of that stuff. In ancient Rome, ecclesia means legislature, lawmaker. That's what ecclesia really is. And it was the ecclesia who met at the city gate, like we were talking about earlier. They're the ones who met there to discuss and make decisions, etc., and to determine how their territory is going to be governed. That's what ecclesia really is. Yes, the term, like many other terms, was hijacked by the Pope, and they put a capital E there. But ecclesia is really what the heirs really are. The judicial and the legislative and the executive, etc., but it's legislative specifically is what ecclesia really is. And even in the ancient records, there are prophecies about the ecclesia manifesting in the last days, which is what we're in now. It's not the last days for us, it's the last days for that corporate capitalism, system and the foreign occupation of our land. That's done. It's a wrap. So that's what's in the ancient prophecies. They talk about the ecclesia manifesting. We are the ecclesia. We're already that. We're already that. Everyone who's done a court action is ecclesia. All Moors who are the law and who are the government is ecclesia, in all lowercase letters. Okay? So that's a beautiful word. I'm glad you used it. I'm glad you said that, because there needed to be some clarity with regard to that word as well. We are the ecclesia, already been that, was born that. And everything that they have taken, we're just taking it back and putting it in its lawful, rightful place and status, to include our names in all lowercase, our sovereign appellations in all lowercase letters. Okay? The lowercase in all lowercase letters. Okay? The sovereign born name. All right. Go ahead, Justice Apollo. I didn't want to cut your wisdom, but that's an important word, ecclesia. Very important. Huh? Go ahead, Justice Apollo.
Oh, Islam, just like I was saying, I mean, it's the understanding is still growing right now, but we do, I mean, with what we have, I think that it's just important to keep those things in mind, just the separation between public and private, because that was the whole initial issue, that we thought that we were, a class of people that we weren't, and a lot of our people still, but today I think that separation is going to be important, because if you're saying that you're leaning, if you're leaning, you're saying you're claiming a property and you're making like a creditor statement, and then the goal is like, how can we make exchanges with our gold if nobody has any gold to, like, if that makes sense. That's good.
That's good. I'm glad you said that. Mm-hmm. Because here's the key to that, and we mentioned it briefly earlier. That is why when we're doing our demonstrations, we're the creditor, so we tell them to put credits in the account. Not we don't say put fiat in there. We say put credits in there. Credits. And credits come from the creditor. They're gold backed anyway. Debtors can't have gold backed credits. Only the creditor can do that. And that's just a matter of them. Now remember, when they were busy creating, supposedly, they weren't really creating money, but when they were busy doing what they were doing with the debt, all they had to do was type some ones and zeros into a computer, and it would populate the account. But see, because they did it, they populated the account with debt. We just tell them, populate the account with credits. The account can't be it can't be a debtor account. It can only do credit because see, the difference being whatever foundational document created it, what starts in truth stays in truth. So it's actually better to give them affidavits that, along with the termination of corporate contracts, affidavits that say, I have opened an account here. It's a creditor account and not a debtor account.
Islam Empress, do you know if there's any similarities between the type of account that you're talking about and then something that's called a trust account?
The only difference being is that a trust account would be in, for us, for heirs, it's going to be in a sovereign, it's going to be listed as a sovereign trust. That's the only difference.
Islam.
And then when you talk about public and private, you know, it's actually better, and this is just a suggestion because you can't tell heirs what to do. But as a suggestion, I would use the word sovereign instead of public and private, because when you do the etymology on the word public, it means servant. When you do the etymology on the definition, the original archaic definition on private, it's the lowest ranking member in the military, and we're none of those. We have living sovereign accounts, and one can be commercial for commercial purposes, and the other can be, you know, for whatever. But again, all of our accounts, we can have just one and do everything from that one. That's what sovereignty is as well.
Right, Islam.
You know, so just give that some thought and do a little research on public and private, because those are two terms that the citizens were using because they can't use the word sovereign. You know, that's just putting a face on the debt that they were using. They say this debt is public debt and this debt is private debt. Now, if you put those terms in lowercase letters, you're free to do that. I don't particularly care for those terms because I know that we're sovereign, and the word sovereign in all lowercase letters that covers everything. That means you will not violate, period. And that it's in a jurisdiction that is just what we said it is, sovereign. But then when you start getting into that, you know, but public and private, that's completely, you know, that's the sovereign has the sovereign has the leeway and authority to do whatever they want to do. I just, you know, for the purposes and intents of what we say and do, we are as clear as possible, you know. If they see public and private, just give them competent commands to go with it. Because again, all terms belong to us anyway. All terms, all words belong to the heirs.
Islam, do you know if there's a way to, like, first of all, do you know if you're trying to lien, say for instance you're trying to lien the Bank of America, and you have a specific branch that you may be dealing with that's close to where you domicile, is there a way to, like, is there a separation between, can you lien only one branch of Bank of America, or does that come along with just the lien on the whole Bank of America?
You can do that because you're sovereign, but it is suggested that you go straight to the top, because we don't need to be dealing with the frontline people. I'm telling you, we need to be. We're at the top of everything now. We're already at the top of everything. So we need to be going straight to the top and telling them. And then you can say, this branch right here, specifically, it is where the commands are to go. But see, this is the deal. When we lien, we're not just leaning for ourselves. We're not just leaning. You shouldn't be, Justice Jeremore. You shouldn't be. We're not just leaning for ourselves and marry the teller who made us mad. That's not what we're doing. We're leaning for everyone. Everyone. And that's why we go straight to the top and we tell them the mores, all mores, because rest assured, if it happened to you there, it probably has happened to at least another more someplace else that you don't know about. And we all want to look out for one another as we move forward. So go straight to the top because that's where you are anyway.
Islam?
Justice Jim? Yes. Go ahead, Empress.
Yes, I just wanted to say that's a good point as far as going to the top. And sometimes you have to do just a little bit of research because they use trade names. And so then you have to go through and find out the exact corporation, the incorporation or the corporation, and then that way you can get to the top people, the leadership team or the board of directors or whoever. But like I said, sometimes they try to hide. They go through all these different steps. So it takes a little bit of research, but it's not too difficult to find them to get to the top, like you said. Yeah. Yes.
Well, Empress, anyone that's doing business up at supposedly at the top of their little stuff they got going on there, anybody doing business there, if they're using a trade name and you say all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and all derivatives thereof, see a trade name, even if they're using a trade name, that is, Justice Dearmore, sorry, you're not muted here on this side. So you might need to go out and come back in. Oh, there it goes. It just came undone. Okay, but Empress Melo, even if they're using a trade name, that is an agent or derivative thereof. So
I don't need to look for any further then. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That'll save me some time because I'm going through all that. Okay. Yeah, Islam. I yield. Okay.
Yes. Justice Dearmore, can you go ahead and try now? Because it's saying that it's not saying that it's muted here.
Can you hear me?
I could hear you, but I was actually hold for just one moment, Nobility. Let me get Justice Dearmore in here. Because it's not showing that it's muted here, Justice Dearmore. It's not showing that it's muted here. And we do want to hear.
I had a quick question when you're available.
Okay, just one moment. Let me see. Justice Dearmore, I'm gonna mute it and then unmute it and see again. Maybe that will help. Justice Dearmore, are you there? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. You might have to go out and come back in, Justice Dearmore, because it's saying that you're not muted. Okay. There was a noble that was going to speak, and then Empress Vandoria. There was a noble that was going to say something. Yes, go ahead, Noble.
This is James Bay from the Organic South Carolina Territory.
Yes, Islam.
As far as the website Manta, you can look up the corporation information, and sometimes it shows the actual CEO information as well if you need to take it that route. From what I'm seeing now is they're actually on the run. As far as everything that we're doing, we're making great progress. Most of the time I'm in the background gathering enough information to make sure that we'll be able to do what we need to do. If you turn around and use your liens, you're using the treaties, you're using the Constitution. Lately we've been hearing they're saying that they're not even standing for the Constitution, so therefore they're going to try to run from you. They're not even trying to use the treaties. They don't want to hear nothing about the Constitution, so they're letting you know that you're dealing with straight-up terrorists on the land.
You know what? Honestly, they're not. There's nowhere they can run. So we're not in any. We're not. We have no anxiety about them being terrorists. They can't run away from. you know, to even be here, they have their name on the Queen's registry somewhere, and we know how to find them. You know, so we're not worried about that. You know, it will be, it's in their best interest to chill a little bit, so that we don't have to lien them specifically. But if we do, we know how to find them. They're not hidden anywhere at all. Not at all. That's why we had them to register. See, we did that too. I know. We did that too. We're the ones who said, everybody coming here, put your name on a list so we know who you are. Go ahead, Justice Dearborn.
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, I see you.
Justice Dearborn.
Islam.
Yes.
I just got back in.
We can hear you. Yes.
I want to just comment about the word you were talking about, ecclesia. That's the way it's supposed to be pronounced. It's an old Latin word, and it's also when the so-called Catholic or Cattolica, what they call church, the Cattolica circle took it over. They took that word, the ecclesia, outcalled ones, and made that the Catholic Church, which is why that was the only so-called church where everything had to pay obeisance to. That is what they took the Cattolica, because the Cattolica and the ecclesia are interchangeable in its meaning, but it means the outcalled ones. And you can find that in the very old Bibles or in old Latin, before Latin died, Islam.
Latin did not die. We are still alive.
That's a joke.
Islam.
That's a joke.
I know it. I know.
We're the dead who have always been here and cannot be silenced.
The living. Islam. So when he says that they took it, all they did was capitalize the first letter of that word and then start using it improperly and not in its original meaning, you know. And that's how they did it. So we're undoing all of that and taking back everything that was unlawfully misrepresented. Okay. The ecclesia or the ecclesia, whichever you choose, however you choose to pronounce and spell it, belongs to, that's the earth. It's the earth all day. And it does mean government and called out ones. The called out ones, yes. Absolutely.
And what the reason that you pronounce it properly, because the ecclesia makes a particular sound that builds something. That's the reason for it to know what it is, because when you shorten it or do something else with it, you're doing the very same thing that they tried to do, change it. You know, they say it doesn't matter, it means the same thing. No, it never does. Islam.
When we say it, we're speaking in ancient English anyway. So it does not mean the same thing as what they said. It actually means what we meant for it to mean when we coined the term in the beginning, before they took it. And they never really took it. They just, you know, capitalized it. But yes, thank you, Justice. You're more valuable information as well. Speaking of the Catholic, that word in all lowercase letters does not mean the Pope and all of that either. In all lowercase letters, when we say Catholic or Catholic in ancient English, it means universal. That's what Catholic really means before it was, it was hypothecated by the corporations. But in its original indigenous meaning, it means universal. That is a word that we can use, and it not mean the Pope and a church corporation, a 501c3. You know, so we've taken back everything. And if we think something hasn't been taken back, we hone in on it and make sure that we get it. Take it back and decapitalize it, and it's ours. It was ours anyway. So speaking of the Catholic and that whole piece, I'm going to say something that I'm not sure who this is for, but I'm going to say it anyway. So you know how the nuns the nuns and all of that, those ones who hypothecated that whole Catholic thing, how they are abstinent, okay, from all, or supposedly abstinent from any intimate relations. Well, supposedly for them, we know they hypothecate and lie about everything, so we know that was not even happening. However, there is a granule of truth in the abstinence piece, and for some of us Moors, okay, specifically for some of the empresses, and this is not all Moors, so don't get nervous. But for some of the empresses, as you awaken, and the emperors too, as you awaken, there's going to be an energy that sequesters your body so that you are abstinent also. Okay? And that abstinence, I don't know if it's permanent. For some it will be permanent, and for others it will not be. It will be for a specific time, or a kairos, a window of time. It's nothing to worry about. It just means that the ancestors they want your whole attention, and then they will guide you from there. Okay? So for any who were ever concerned about that type of thing and wondering, well, wow, it's been ages and nothing, a lot of times the ancestors will sequester you completely for their use, for their purposes, okay? And Islam? That is to live through you, Islam. Okay? And so Islam. So don't be alarmed by that. Islam, go ahead.
Talking about the nun, N-U-N, which again, I talked about that before. That was the Catholic or Cattolica religion took that word nun, and again, it was a part of hiding a large 1/3 of what would be called the Trinity of God. The nun, because the nun is the place where, if you look in very old information, and it'll be Moorish or Hindustani or Tibetan information, they talk about the Maya, which is there's two parts to that. The Maya, which is the physical part, which is the illusion, and the what you'd call the spiritual part, which is the unseen. But the Maya and the Nun are what in very, very old, what you'd call holy writings, if you want to call it that dumb stuff, that's where they're talking about what it is everything comes from and everything goes back to, because that is the one part of the creative phase of things, and it's also the degenerative phase of things, which is when you talk about the short thing of it is the God, or what you call the generator, operator, and destroyer or deconstructor. The nun is the deconstructor and the generator. It does both, and it does that through what's called a black hole, white hole pair. So that's science that one must know about that's how those things work. And just to make it so nobody has a headache about this, don't worry. Every single one of us are, we hold within both the body in the microcosm and in our larger self as the macrocosm, which is the same thing. We hold millions and trillions of black hole, white hole pairs. So don't worry about when you hear about black holes and white holes, because you're it. Islam.
Yeah, Islam.
Also, may I speak?
Yes.
Yeah. Also,
Leona
the thing.
Okay, go ahead, Noble.
Also, the thing with the abstinence and with the nun and not getting married with the Catholic Church, that was also in fear of a woman getting pregnant by the head priest and then a woman taking over the Catholics. So they never wanted the women being in a possible situation like that, for fear that if a pope would die and have a baby by a nun or something, then she could take over. That's just one thing that also that they were fearful of.
That I never thought about it that way, but
yes,
it makes sense. It makes sense.
And that's
because we
right,
do take over sometimes.
Right, and sexual energy in a woman on her menstrual cycle is the highest energies on this planet. So that's why how you hear about them always repressing sexual energies, because they're on the low,
yes,
and we can manifest high even when if you're doing rituals, sexual rituals, and manifesting things. So that's one of the things that they was fearful of. They didn't want the priest to get married. They didn't want them to have babies, or if they pregnant a nun, they would kill off the baby.
Wow.
Now you know the story. Exactly. That is what is going on, and that's why we must know that we're not battling anything that is physical. We're battling ourselves because we don't know ourselves. And when we know ourselves, we'll stop with the foolishness that we think that we've been taught and start being who we are. That is why Noble Drew Ali said, know yourself.
Exactly. And one thing one thing I just love about the Moors is so many of us, one of us may have one point that you've been searching for all of our life. All of us have the answers together. You may have one thing, I may have one thing. That's what's so awesome about us.
Yes. We have all the answers in our nation, all of them, period.
Yes.
We don't need any outside anything.
One more thing. 2 movies that's telling our story. The Hobbit. The Hobbit were people who had a vast empire, and they were going to retrieve their empire that had nothing but gold and silver in the castle. And also Maleficent with Angela Jolie. She was the Moor that the foreigner took her wings and hid her wings. So check out those 2 movies, the Hobbit and Maleficent. They're telling our stories.
Islam. One little addition to that.
Yes.
The Hobbit is about Middle Earth.
Right.
Middle Earth.
Right. Midgard.
Same as the heart. The heart is where, when we go there, that's when we can move everywhere.
Islam.
Again, it's science. There is nothing at all about this except it's pure science that one must know, and how to know themselves because of the energetics that involves. It's
Islam.
Science and energetics.
Islam.
Because that is the word. Islam.
Islam. One of the things that I can tell you is that it gave me real insight to the Catholic faith and why they don't have sex. Is one of the doctors of Christianity.
and his name was Jerome, Saint Jerome of 300 A.D. He was more like a holy roller. It was because of him being commissioned that the Bible lived. If you read some of and I've had the opportunity to read some of his ancient writings, and he blamed it on the fact of the matter that at Mount Moriah, that when God called Moses out to meet with him, they had to abstain from sex to reach a state of sanctification. And then he was very hard on Peter, but Jerome has a great effect on Christianity that we know today, and it has morphed into other things. But if you don't do the reading of the writers of some of this stuff, you really won't know where the origin comes from. So it's something that I had to read while I was in college, so that's how I know about it. And when you read his writings, he believed in self-mutilation because of trying to repress his sexuality and different things like that. So it's really a twisted mindset, because
yes, it is.
I would recommend for a healthy person to follow.
Islam. Great points about from all. Islam. Empress Vandoria, you had something that you were going to say earlier as well.
I was listening to them, and it sounds like these emperors and nobles, brothers, need to have their own show, radio show or something, because this stuff is interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, it's great information.
But, mine was a question, though. I was just going to ask, was the assign agents and successors, I noticed that it's kind of easy to find the CEOs from time to time. Sometimes it's a little bit tedious trying to find CEOs for each one of the companies. But the brother who said that they are on the run and you said they're not, the reason why I would think they were on the run is because I noticed that there were a lot of them that were called partners, and then they would have 100 million seem like different emblems and logos. And who are these partners?
They're just dummy umbrellas that they're protecting themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Islam.
Creatures of law.
Yes. Islam. I saw on another note, we have about 5 minutes. On another note, someone put in the chat, and this has come up several times even on social media, about how the Albion foreigners have given some land back to, supposedly back to some other foreigners on our land, etc., or someone doing business as Indians, or I don't know. That is all fraud. Those, first of all, no foreigner. If the heirs have not given land to anyone, then they don't have any land.
Null and void.
Okay. And that did not come from us. So it is absolutely fraud and null and void. And they know that. They know that. They know it. The ones trying to give it know it, and the ones trying to receive it know it. We're hip to that because we already know that back in the day, those fake two that were supposedly doing war on this land, Britain and supposedly the settlers or colonizers who came here, they were supposed to be warring against one another, and then, all of a sudden, peace treaties come and they're giving each other land. No, that never happened. It never happened. No, the land belongs to the heirs, period. And everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. That's not even anything for anybody to guess at. Everyone knows that already. And they're actually starting to confess that they know that. And we appreciate their confession. So are there any other questions, comments, etc.? And I see someone in the chat asking why hasn't the what is the consular court doing about this, that, and a third? If you're a Moorish American national and you're asking what is the consular court doing about this or that, then you're a little bit in breach because you're the consular court too. And if you see something going on in your territory or outside of your, which everything is your territory anyway, you should be doing court action. Your discomfort about something that's going on is for you to remedy.
Tell it.
So, if, again, all Moors are the consular court. All Moors are the Moorish National Republic, the de jure one, not that one with capital letters in it. So if something is bothering you about something and you think the consular court should be doing it and you're of the bloodline and birthright, then we're happy to assist you in getting it done. But you will have to do it because that is your responsibility. That's your duty. That's your sovereign right to take care of the things that you see on your land that's not going the way you think it should go. That's not for anyone to pop into somebody else. And I'm not saying that you were doing that in the chat, but I'm just saying this is not lawyers where you throw something in their lap and they sell you up the river. No, we are sovereign, so we use our own sovereign authority and take care of and remedy the things that are going on our land. Okay.
That's why they've been usurping, because our lack of. Tell it, sister.
Right. And each and all Moors should be doing. You can't tell Moors what to do, but all Moors should be, just as a suggestion, should be doing court action. When you see something on your land that causes you some cognitive dissonance, then you should be doing a court action and a lien. Islam. And with that, we're 1 minute shy of the 2-hour mark. Moors, thank you for coming.
Time, huh?
It's time, yes, it's time to even eat the dessert actually now, because this was a dinner for me. I love this when we come together. Islam. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign heirs.
Islam.
Peace.
Islam. Peace and love.
Peace and love, everyone.
Peace and
Rising.
Much love to the Moors. Islam?
Yes.
Much love.
Islam.
Peace and
Much
love.
love.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Yes. Much love. Much love.
See you on Thursday.
Empire Moors. Long empire.
Yes. Long live the empire indeed.
Islam.
El